All right, if you're prepping for that AWS Solutions Architect exam, you know there are some topics that are just huge. And disaster recovery, global performance, they're right at the top of the list. That means you have got to know Amazon Aurora Global Database inside and out. So let's dive in and get you totally exam ready. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with the big problem that global apps are trying to solve. Then we'll peek under the hood at the concepts that make a solution possible. After that, it's all about Amazon Aurora, specifically its global database feature. And you know we have to talk about failover versus switchover. That's a classic exam question right there. We'll wrap it all up with a super handy cheat sheet just for you. Okay, so let's set the scene. Think about it. Businesses these days are everywhere, right? They're global. And your users, well, they don't care where your servers are. They expect everything to be lightning fast, whether they're logging in from Tokyo or ordering something from New York. And that creates a massive headache for your database architecture. And this is the puzzle you, as the architect, have to solve. It's a two-parter, really. First, how do you make sure reads are super fast for everyone, no matter where they are on the planet? That's low latency. Second, how do you make sure your app doesn't just die if an entire AWS region has a bad day? That's high availability. You've got to nail both. So what's the secret? It's not about finding one single magical database that can do it all. Nope. The answer actually comes from a fundamental computer science concept, the idea of a distributed database system. And the idea here is actually pretty simple. You've heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Well, that's exactly it. Instead of one giant database in one location, you spread copies of your data across multiple sites all over the world. They're all connected, so they act like one big database, but you get all the benefits of having them physically separate. And the magic that makes all this possible, it's a little something called replication. It's not complicated, but it is super powerful. You're just storing copies of your data in more than one place. That's what gives you that reliability. If one site goes down, no big deal. You've got other copies ready and waiting. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does AWS actually put these ideas into practice? Well, that's where Amazon Aurora enters the picture. Think of it as AWS's custom-built, high-performance answer for a cloud-native relational database. Now, for your exam, there are a few key things to know about Aurora. First, it's fully managed. That's a huge deal because it means less work for you. Second, it's compatible with the engines you probably already use, like MySQL and PostgreSQL. But the real kicker, the thing that makes it special, is its storage. It was built from the ground up, specifically for these high availability and disaster recovery situations we're talking about. All right, let's get to the main event. What is Aurora Global Database? Well, it's a feature that takes a regular Aurora database cluster and, like the name says, makes it global. It literally stretches it across multiple AWS regions, so you have one single database that spans the planet. Okay, listen up, because this is super important for the exam. You have to remember this topology. With an Aurora Global Database, there's always just one primary region. That's the only place where you can write data. All the other regions, and you can have up to 5 of them, are secondaries. They're read-only, so it's a classic one-writer, multi-reader setup. Burn that into your brain. So why go through all this trouble? Well, for your exam, it really comes down to 2 big use cases. The first one is all about speed. Giving your users around the world really fast, low-latency reads. Someone in Europe gets their data from a European server, someone in Asia gets it from an Asian server. You get the idea. The second reason, it's a beast for disaster recovery. If your main region goes offline, you can just promote one of the secondaries to take its place. Boom. Now, speaking of promoting a secondary region, this is a spot where people get tripped up all the time. AWS has 2 different ways to do this, a failover and a switchover. And trust me, you are very likely to see a question about the difference between these two on your exam. Okay, here's the absolute key difference, the thing you have to remember. Switchover is for something you planned. It's a controlled move. Think of it like a scheduled drill or some planned maintenance. You're choosing to switch your primary region. Failover, on the other hand, is the big red emergency button. It's for an unplanned outage, when something has actually gone wrong and you need to recover fast. And the automated failover process is where this service really shines. When a failover happens, Aurora does all the hard work for you. It promotes one of your secondary clusters to become the new primary. And this part is just awesome, it keeps an eye on the old region that failed. As soon as that region is back online and healthy,
Aurora automatically brings it back into the fold, but as a new secondary this time. So cool.
Yeah, this quote from AWS really nails it. At the end of the day, this whole feature is designed to make your life easier during a crisis. It saves you from a ton of manual work and keeps your global database structure intact, so you're not scrambling to rebuild everything from scratch after an outage. All right, time for the good stuff. Let's boil all this down into a quick cheat sheet for your exam. These are the absolute must-know facts you'll want to have memorized.
First up, performance. How fast is the data copied from the primary to the secondaries? The answer is really fast. Typically, it's under 1 second. That's the secret sauce that makes those local reads so quick for your users everywhere. So for the exam, the magic number to remember is sub-second latency.
Next, let's talk about money, because you know AWS loves to ask about costs on the exam. Of course, you're going to pay for your instances and storage in every region, but the line item to really watch out for is replicated write IOs. What does that mean? It means every time you write something to your primary database, you get billed again for that write being copied to every single one of your secondary regions. That can add up, so it's a really important cost factor to keep in mind. Okay, so if your brain is full and you can only remember 3 things for the exam, make it these 3. Number 1, the purpose. Why use it? Low latency global reads and cross-region disaster recovery. Number 2, resilience. Switchover is for planned stuff. Failover is for unplanned emergencies. And number 3, the cost. Remember, you pay for those write IOs to be replicated to each and every secondary region. And let's wrap this up with a classic architect question to get your gears turning. You know, a standard Aurora cluster can have cross-region read replicas too. So when would you choose to use the more powerful and, more expensive Aurora Global Database instead? The answer lies in things like your recovery time objective and how much operational overhead you're willing to handle. That's exactly the kind of trade-off you'll need to analyze on the exam. So think about it and good luck with your studies.